And now I'd like to introduce the president of UVM, Daniel Mark Fogel, who will say a few words.
Well, thank you very much, Judy. Good afternoon, everybody. I do want to acknowledge and thank a number of people, beginning with Judy Van Houten, her colleague at UVM, Professor of Physics Calvin Chu, as leaders of EPSCoR, to thank Frank and the Vermont Technology Council for all you do as the host agency of EPSCoR IDEA, and John Newton-Evans, my senior advisor for commercialization, who is also the president of the Vermont Technology Council. Rob Chaffee is here, the chair of our board, and Greg, it's wonderful to be partnered with Teljet. We have other UVM officials here, Dean Watson, Vice President Grasso, and colleagues from other institutions in Vermont, from St. Michael's and from Norwich, and I'm probably missing others that are part of the Vermont Genetics Network and part of the beneficiary community of the activities of EPSCoR and IDEA. We're really pleased to be here to acknowledge the importance of cyber-enabled research to both the university and the state of Vermont. Advances in technology like the one that Judy has outlined, this advanced fiber network, will enable the university to educate the next generation of scientists. It also provides support for our research faculty. It contributes to the important body of computational intensive work that is helping us understand the health of Lake Champlain, and of course is directly aligned with our transdisciplinary research initiatives, and increases the research capacity of faculty and students throughout the state at all of our institutions. Now, none of this would be possible without the steadfast support of Senator Patrick J. Leahy. Senator, we salute you for your long-standing leadership for the well-being of Lake Champlain. Here we are in the Marcel and Patrick Leahy Echo Science Center, and we salute you for your commitment to keeping Vermont at the front edge of cyber-enabled technologies. Thanks to Senator Leahy's vision and effort, these important contributions and the competitive research awards that are supporting this advanced fiber network will allow UVM and all of our partners throughout Vermont EPSCoR and the Vermont Genetics Network to reach new heights in science research and workforce development throughout the state, and in research innovations for the next generation of scientists. And with that, it's my great honor to invite Senator Leahy to the podium, our senior senator, Senator Patrick J. Leahy.
Dan, thank you. Thank you very much. And Judith, thank you. And Frank and Greg, thank you for what you said. I was thinking, you're ready for this. You know, one of my kids, our kids said to me, Dad, you know what a big deal this is? I mean, this is really big, really fast. I said, you know, I have graduated beyond the fountain pen and paper, and Marcel would be here, but she's on her way to pick up that young man at the airport. So, but there are a number of people here who have worked hard on this. Dom Grasso, of course, as you know, Dan, and his leadership's been key to helping me shepherd funding to the Advanced Computer Center and the work UVM is doing on these complex systems. Dr. Chu has been at the center today. His great announcement, along with Dr. Van Houten, and of course Lillian Gamache of Vermont's EPSCoR program, who helps hold everything together during all of this, and so many other EPSCoR partners. I was glad to see my alma mater, St. Michael's College, well represented here today by Marilyn Cormier. And yeah, this is kind of neat when you look at this. And that's a technical senatorial term, kind of neat. But UVM successfully led the creation of Northeast Cyberinfrastructure Consortium. That means we've joined universities in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, and Delaware. And the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. The partnership is going to reap a $17 million investment from the National Institutes of Health, the National Science Foundation, the Northeast Broadband Infrastructure, including a $3 million direct investment in fiber optic lines from Burlington to Albany and Burlington to Hanover. It's going to give students and researchers, faculty, the University of Vermont the ability to share vast amounts of research and data with other research institutions across the region, but also across the world at the speed of light. Give you an idea how fast it is. In the 90s, we talked about kilobits per second. You could almost watch it going click, click, click across the screen. And the early 2000s, when I started my e-business seminars here in Vermont, and we started talking about high-speed internet access, we were talking about megabits per second. Now we're announcing a 60 gigabit per second network, thousands of times faster than what we knew before. Now, that's not just a matter of ease, as you know, up in Norwich, you look at some of the things you do there. It's not just a matter of ease of not having to watch the little dots go across the screen, but it means that if you're going to do real cutting-edge research, you're going to need this kind of speed. And it's fitting the first data sets to be shared in the network will be aimed at fighting algae blooms on Lake Champlain and in lakes across the Northeast. It's going to use the network to exchange vast amounts of environmental information that would have taken months otherwise. We can do it in seconds, and we're going to help us understand how to deal with toxic algae blooms in lakes across the region. Frank, from St. Albans to Burlington to so many other places. And in more than 30 years of trying to help clean up Lake Champlain, I've learned that it is an extraordinarily complex system. The research being done here, the Rubenstein Center and the university and elsewhere, at ECHO at the Leahy Center, it shows that if we're going to restore the lake, and as we have restored much of the lake, you have to understand the cause and effect. So we're going to understand why some algae blooms are toxic, but some remain harmless, and what factors may have driven blooms that followed St. Albans Bay this summer, but leaving Missisquoi Bay, which is right nearby, in much better condition. If we learn why one gets hit, the other one nearby doesn't, we're going to go a long way towards solving this problem. And as Judy said, it complements the nearly $173 million in American Recovery and Reinvestment Act broadband investments that our delegation announced this year. And speaking of that, I really want to thank both Senator Sanders and Congressman Welch and having people here today, because this is something where we have really been joined together in pushing for this. We've made it very clear, as we've said to some of our government agencies in Washington, how many other states have the whole congressional delegation united on this, and we have. So I'm pleased to see Vermont EPSCoR leading this creation. I am actually looking forward, once it's in place, to go there, and I won't break anything, Dad, but I kind of like to go there. I do like to be involved in this. I had a wake-up call years ago from a 5-year-old grandson who was at our home, and we always had high-speed networks. He wanted to get on an interactive program where you could play games and draw pictures. He's 5 years old. And I said, well, let me call it up for you. Well, I did. He said, yep, that's the one. Takes the mouse out of my hand and said, I better take over now. It gets very complicated. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you, Senator Leahy. And I wanted to point out something that you referred to about the research on the lake, and I want to emphasize one more time that this is truly collaborative. The deep sequencing is done in Delaware, and the metagenome data sets are going to be shared around through Vermont, Maine, and Rhode Island for the data analysis. It's truly a collaborative effort, and hopefully we will shed some light on the problems of the lake. So thank you, Senator Leahy, President Fogel, Mr. Greg Kelly, and Mr. Frank Coffey for your remarks. And because this is such an excellent example of collaboration, I don't want to forget the people in Vermont who made this possible. You've heard about Dr. Kelvin Chu, the Associate Director for Vermont EPSCoR and Vermont Genetics Network, Dr. David Todd, the CIO of UVM, Dr. James Vincent, who is the Bioinformatics Core Director of VGN and the Metagenome Guru, Mr. Tim Hunter, who is also part of the Metagenome Project and the VGN Microarray Manager, President Fogel, VPR Grasso, and also Interim Provost Nodell for promoting transdisciplinary excellence at UVM, Dr. John Evans and Mr. Frank Coffey from our Technology Council, Lillian Gamache, who's the project administrator for EPSCoR, Miranda Lescaz, who is the Center for Workforce Development and Diversity Director, and Troy Kroll, Nora Joyle, Steve Exler of EPSCoR, but also Julie Paris of Vermont Genetics Network. And if I've forgotten anyone, I'm sorry, there are so many of you, but I would like to say thank you for coming and open the floor for questions. Thank you.
How much extra capacity is there expected to be?
Question for Mr. Kelly. Yeah.
There is 240 gigabits of extra capacity.
So can you give me what would that serve, for example?
In today's terms, you could take all of the data in Vermont and push it down in this one connection. So it's more than we can use, but we're at the trends that we're going. Within 5 years, we'll need to upgrade again. So.
And what's the partnership beyond the Vermont-New Hampshire border? How is the connection made with Delaware, for example, and Rhode Island?
That goes beyond our network. But in Albany, we're connected with a host of other networks, and in Boston, we're connected with other networks. So the traffic is handed off from network to network to get to its final destination.
Any other questions? Be happy to go through the map with anyone who wants me to. Well, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.